Please rise with me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Today is October 15th, 2019. Can I have a roll call?
Missouri? Here. Basil?
Here.
Whaling?
Here.
LaFurle?
Here.
Meyer? Here. Rouse?
Here.
We have the minutes of the September 23rd meeting. Are there any changes or corrections? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion on the floor to approve. Second.
Second.
There's a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Missouri? Yes. Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
LaFurle?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. Rouse?
Yes.
Anyone from the audience wish to address the board? If not, we have the commission's beautification commission.
You were there on Sunday, you'd know more than I would of Paul Loman's dedication.
On Sunday, they dedicated the event to Paul Woman. Beautification Commission did a very, very nice job in getting that park ready. They had moms there. They had a nice spread of food. It was well attended, I would say about 30 people, and I think it turned out very, very nice. And my thanks to the Public Works Department too, because I know they worked, park looked very, very good that day. So other than that, that's it for that commission. 4th of July Commission, Trustee Meyer.
I did not go to the dinner thing, and I have not yet gotten any reports, like for end of year where we stand for treasurer's report, so I don't really have anything else. Okay.
Commission, Trustee Missouri.
Thank you. Youth Commission just had their junior high haunted house event Friday night. It was very well attended, around 85 kids. I'm not sure on that final count, but it was very successful. And thank you to police and EMA because they did a great job making sure we could corral the kids at the end to get them home safely. That's all I have.
Historic Preservation, Trustee Wheeler.
We have our next meeting tomorrow night, so if you're interested in coming, come on down to the depot. This last month with that 8 inches of rain we ended up having about a foot of water in the bottom, in the basement of the depot. What had happened is the rain, there must have been a river between the building and the railroad tracks, but the window well filled up and it just blew out. And there was glass all the way on the other side of the basement, so the force on that coming through. So we did lose, get some of the paper goods a little bit wet, so we're trying to salvage that. But the maintenance department, I called Matt right away and got on that, got some fans down there. And has the window been replaced?
That's fixed, yes.
Okay, window's been replaced, so, but it was just, is there a drain at the bottom of that, do you know?
Of the window well
Of the
itself?
window well?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right, but we'll have to keep an eye on that, but that was our big thing that came up on the building. That ends my report.
Okay, thank you.
Is that, I'm sorry, is that 7 o'clock tomorrow night?
6.
6?
And if I may, the beautification changed their meeting date to the second Thursday of the month, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so Thursday mornings at 9 a.m.
Yeah, okay, that's just for everybody's information.
Was the circuit going in the depot from the?
We haven't been there yet to
You
check
haven't
that.
been
I got it on the schedule for tomorrow.
Circuit in the depot?
For the gazebo outlet
Okay,
outside.
because there's been a problem in there, you might want to check the lighting too's been tripping out in there, so I don't know if we needed to get an electrician in there or whatever, but,
Okay.
keep an eye on that.
Thank you. Trustee Basil.
Treasurer's report and report of financial activity prior month, Donna?
The month-end total for all village accounts, $3,150,813.47. The total in the commission accounts, $192,207.93. The total of both combined, $3,343,021.40. The September month-end in general, $961,212.10. We're still collecting 2% interest on all of our accounts. So the total interest for September, $5,599.33 with a fiscal year-to-date $26,140.68. The total of the commission non-AP payments for the month of September was $1,315,597.45. The IHC and Baxter Woodman $1 million checks pre-approved by the board. Other than that, if there's no questions, that's the end of my report.
All right, any questions for Donna? All right, I make a motion approving the treasurer's report and the report of financial activities for the prior month.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and there was a second, any question? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Variance reports are for the preceding month, are enclosed for your review. And everyone get a copy of the bills for the prior month. Any questions or concerns?
There are a few new ones, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, there are a bunch of new ones.
So we have to-
They are highlighted. Any questions on the bills? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills for the prior month for $125,834.39.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. Kraus?
Yes.
That ends my report.
Trustee Reserve?
Thank you. Consider an ordinance approving a comprehensive land use plan for the year 2040. This process has been ongoing for over a year, and a public hearing was held by the PZC on September 26th, followed by a recommendation by the PZC for approval. Most of the board members were in attendance that night at the hearing and heard the presentation. The plan is also online at villageofbeecher.org, and a hard copy will be provided once it's approved. It is recommended that this ordinance be approved tonight. So I make a motion.
13, 15.
Oh, yeah. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1315, approving a comprehensive land use plan for the year 2040.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
I know this is a ministerial item for us, but the PZC's been working on this for over a year. Is that right, George? It's been a long process, especially for staff to get to this point. So it's another project we can take off our books.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer? Yes. Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
That's it.
That's all I have, thank you.
Trustee Meyer?
Consider an ordinance for the establishment of an enterprise zone subject to the Enterprise Zone Act of the State of Illinois, and authorize the president and clerk to sign an intergovernmental agreement. Village administrator must first enter into the record the presentation as required by state law to give the board for review. It's enclosed, and if there are no objections, we'll waive the reading but enter it into the record. When we last approved the enterprise zone, it was only for 3 years since it was an expansion of an existing zone for Sauk Village and Fort Heights, and it expires in 2021. The new zone will have the same boundaries, but will be a standalone zone and be good for 15 years with a 10-year renewal if none of the parties object. The Enterprise Zone Board has been working on this renewal for 2 years and has paid $30,000 out of its account to get the work done from past application fees. It's recommended this zone be approved. Dutch American is using the incentives provided by the zone.
Another project. It's great to get off the books and working on it.
13, 16.
I'd like to make a motion approving ordinance number 1316 for the establishment of an enterprise zone subject to the Enterprise Zone Act of the State of Illinois, and authorize the president and clerk to sign an intergovernmental agreement
And waive the reading of the ordinance.
and waive the reading of the ordinance.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
The next item I would prefer to bring up after executive session, at which time there may be a vote. And trustee Caprows.
Consider extending the bid award time for the Gould Street Water Main Project to June 15, 2020, in exchange for a 2% in contract price if the bid is awarded prior to that time. If we don't award the bid, there'll be no penalty. This 2% increase, which equates to $17,614.34, locks the bid in at $898,333.80. It's still significantly lower than the next lowest bid on the project. Enclosed is the bid letter and the bid tab sheet from the opening. I'll go ahead and make a motion extending the bid award time for the Gould Street Water Main Project to June 15, 2020, in exchange for a 2% in the contract price if the bid is awarded prior to that.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any questions, motion? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Consider a motion authorizing payment to IHC in the amount of $288,317.88 upon receipt of IEPA funds as a partial payment for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant. I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment to IHC in the amount of $288,317.88 upon receipt of IEPA funds.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions?
Too close.
Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes. Consider a motion authorizing payment to Baxter and Woman in the amount of $34,999.88 for construction management services related to the wastewater treatment plant pending IEPA funds. I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment to Baxter and Woman in the amount of $34,999.88 for construction management services related to the wastewater treatment plant.
There's a motion, is there?
Pending receipt of IEPA funds.
Sorry. Is there a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Consider a motion authorizing the purchase of a Boss interchangeable snowplow and frame in the amount of $5,400 to be used on the backup plow truck. We've always had one more truck than we had plows. Since we did not have the staffing to run all the equipment, we always had one spare truck. We are now able to run 3 trucks for each of the 3 plow routes but we do not have a plow for the last spare truck. This purchase will allow us to have the plows for the entire fleet in one backup plow in the event of a frontline unit going down. Matt brought this to us, we're gonna go ahead and take that out of the street fund, street lighting account, line item, not the police department.
I tried, man, sorry, got caught.
So, if there's no questions on it, I'll go ahead and make a motion authorizing the purchase of a Boss interchangeable snowplow and frame in the amount of $5,400.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There was a second?
Yes.
There was a second, any questions?
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
That's it? Okay, the next item, since the clock is ticking, I ask the following two items to be placed on the agenda. It's entirely at the discretion of the village board, that if we want to put an advisory referendum on the March 17th primary election, taking a poll from our voters whether or not we want to permit the sale of recreational cannabis. Discussion?
Well, that would only matter if we opt out, right?
No, the way,
If we opt in, can we reverse,
yes,
even if we have someone here with a license?
yes,
We can kick them out.
don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I think that's a question for the attorney, because before we vote on something like that, think we need to know if someone comes into town with a license, I don't think we can tell them to get out after March. If the referendum says the people don't want it.
The attorney was fully aware of what we were trying to do, and was fully aware that things could change after that. I would have to ask him to be sure, but I would think you're right, but then that would prohibit anything else thereafter, if we so desire. It's purely an advisory referendum, it's not a binding referendum.
It's my understanding that prior to July 1st, there won't be any standalone cannabis license being issued. They're only going to existing medical facilities. In the event that were to occur and someone petitioned you after January 1st for a license, it's still gonna take 90 to 120 days to go through the special use process. So you could delay that special use permit process until after the referendum if that was a desire of the village board or the PZC.
Well, I guess it's the board's discretion if the referendum would really sway anyone's minds on the board. So if they're not, then the referendum, you know what I'm saying, it's,
I feel strongly that we should have our residents' opinion on this. So I would be for putting it on there since we have the time to do it anyway.
And just a reminder, we are putting out a survey in the newsletter, not knowing what was going to happen down the road, and again, that clock was ticking. So what would happen if this one said yes, this one said no? Okay, my thought was you would take those two, combine them together, average everything out, you would go from there.
Like a meeting.
In each case, it's all advisory.
Now, what's the timeline? You know, I always thought that you needed to opt in or opt out before the end of the year.
The problem is that if you don't do anything by the end of the year, and somebody comes in thereafter, he comes in free and clear. So something has to be on the books by the first of the year. Within the following year, up until 2021, you can change any ordinance, or amend any ordinance, take out any ordinance, anything you want in 2020. But by 2021, the first of the year, whatever you've got should be on the books, because thereafter, it's only by referendum can change it. Binding referendum.
So this referral, or this, you know, authorizing the attorney to do the referendum, advisory referendum, this is before the board is going to vote either to opt in or opt out,
No, I
correct?
believe by the end of the year, the board will make a decision, depending upon the recommendation from the zoning board of what to do, whether to opt in or opt out before the end of the year.
So that is before the referendum.
It is, and we could have put it on the clock was ticking, we could not get it on this fall's referendum, so the first one we could get is by the spring.
What's the deadline to put it on the one for spring?
I believe it
December
was
1st or something like that. It's pretty,
something like
because
that.
it's 90 days before the March primary.
so what I'm hearing is that no one can really come into the town before, would you say, June? With a license? They could petition, but they couldn't really open a shop until June or July? Is that what we're saying?
I think the first non-medical licenses for marijuana, now granted, this could change because the veto session's going
Right,
to
the
change the
28th,
law,
yes.
is July 1st for a standalone rec cannabis facility, not tied to medical.
So wouldn't it make more sense to opt out and then opt back in March if that's what we're gonna do, instead of opting in and then fighting if someone does come in with a license?
The question before you tonight is, do you want to put this advisory referendum on the ballot, not whether you opt in or out?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just saying
You
that,
haven't received any recommendation from the zoning board yet.
When is that recommendation due? as
That's
far
just
as-
what I was gonna say, you know, are we putting the cart before the horse at this particular meeting? Or should we wait until we do the vote to tell the attorney what we want him to do for the advisory referendum? And is there time? That's what I was wondering.
I got one comment on this. I think we need to, one, I wanna wait and see what PZC does with it Thursday. And the second thing is, with these, when we talk about this referendum, in the last election, the voter turnout for all of Will County was 13%. That's of registered voters. And I believe, which I had a hard time looking it up right here, I believe only 70%
of Beecher's registered, or, residents are even registered to vote. So, as far as a referendum goes on it, are you truly getting the gauge of all the people? You had 13% voter turnout in all of Will County in the last election. Are you really getting what the residents feel is when you're polling 13%?
Those are the one that put us in office.
If I may, you have another choice on the referendum, you can wait till fall, 1 year from now.
But we represent everybody, not the people that voted for us.
I
We
know that.
represent the entire town.
But-
We
but
don't
if
have
you-
to just be responsible to those that
I
show
know,
up
but
to
if
the
you don't
ballot
care
box.
enough about your village to go out and vote, then that's,
Then you don't count.
That's-
So then
No,
their
that's
opinion
you.
doesn't matter?
I didn't say that. I said that if you don't come out to vote, if you don't care enough to come out and vote, then
What about the people that work shifts that it's difficult for them to get out? What about people that work out of town? What about people that aren't registered to vote? I'm just
People that
saying,
work downtown that are gone from 7
all
to
I'm,
7.
all I'm saying is you have a 13%, 13.16% voter turnout in the last election. And of that, that's only of, you're talking 13% of the approximately 70-something percent. I wish I could find that right now of what Beecher, the percentage of Beecher residents that are actually registered to vote. So,
we could throw those numbers all around. It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Well, let me ask you this, John. What would you suggest then to try and get the information from our voters of what they would prefer? That's the whole purpose.
I'm not interested in information from our voters. I'm interested in information from our
Okay, let
residents.
me rephrase it. From our residents.
Yes.
So the
How are you-
poll that, I'm sorry.
How are you gonna get a poll? You can't, whether you do it by paper, there's a disadvantage. Whether you do it by voting, there's a disadvantage. You know, one thing we did discuss, that spring may not be the time because of the primary. You may want it in November. Okay, we would have to, I believe we would, in our mind, when we discussed it, that if we did it in November, there would be 2 meetings thereafter the election that we could take action. So you could hold off and wait till the fall, put that ballot, an advisory referendum on a ballot.
I don't believe there's gonna be a deluge of people knocking our doors down. I could be wrong. To put a dispensary here, there's huge, thousands of dollars of fees to open one up. They're not gonna open them up until July 1st. After that point, before you even get the craft ones, which are the smaller ones, I don't think there's a huge rush to put it on for spring.
And that's fine. We considered all these things, again, because the clock was ticking for the spring. All we did was put it on here. If you chose not to take any action, decided to wait and see until the fall, and the discussions that we've had, we believe you have time in the fall to do that, if you time it correctly,
We can
yes.
still do it before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Well, the map I was looking at, 47 of them are in Will and Cook County. They're all in one clump, and a lot of the villages around us are opting out. So where are they gonna go? To the villages that opt in.
See, what would the board like to do? Is there a motion? One more time, is there a motion? Okay, the next, I had talked to, if you remember, I talked to Scott and Marcy about trying to spearhead a grassroots effort to do a park district. What I talked about with them was a thought that at this particular point in time, once again, to put advisory referendum on the ballot, not binding, to see if in fact it would pass before we started doing a lot of work to do so. This is purely up to the board, again, because the clock was ticking. I suggested we put it on the ballot. It is always possible that no matter what this board does as far as this advisory referendum, the grassroots people could take up the cause and begin to do the march to build the park district, put the park district on the ballot. And then Marcy and Scott would help them as much as the village could, because we have to play a neutral role in that referendum. We would still try to help get the information out there and so on and so forth. So thoughts on that?
I don't think it would hurt to put it on, as far as an advisory. It's been
Especially
20,
because last time
Yeah, 25 years, I think it's been since it was voted on before. But that was a grassroots, that was a full-blown referendum. You know, with this, it's just pulling getting a feel, and I know that a lot of people don't vote, but I think you'd still get some type of a reaction, some type of percentage of people that are leaning toward the Park District or not. And I think that gives us an opportunity to get the grassroots group together to take off with it.
But applying the same argument, are you gonna get a good sample?
Well, you're not, you know, I'm looking at percentages,
Well,
you know?
at the end of the day, this is different than the previous agenda item in the fact that this only happens with a referendum. The previous item can happen either way, yay or nay, without a referendum. It can go either direction, yes, no, with or without a referendum. This can only happen by referendum. I think all this does is, because at the end of the day, even if it is 13%, that 13% will decide if it does or does not. And that gives you, the advisory referendum gives you an idea of whether or not it's worth to put the time in.
Right.
That's the point, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And then, but even then, if it dies, this may perk something, or there may be a group of people that wanna step up to the plate and try to get it done as far as a binding.
I just wanted to clarify that the difference between the previous agenda item and this one is this only happens by a
Because
referendum.
it's a taxing.
The other one can happen either way, yea or nay, without a referendum.
Yeah,
Is there a motion on
so I'd
this?
like to make a motion to, put this on or have the attorney to draft an ordinance for an advisory referendum on the Park District for the village.
March 17th ballot?
March 17th ballot.
Okay, so motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions?
I would like to, say that maybe the wording, is this a,
You just beat me to it.
Okay.
The attorney will tweak the wording.
okay,
Proper.
because I'd
Yeah,
like to
remember
put in
this.
there all ages, recreation for all ages.
Yeah, this is
You know.
only in the village limits too, so we don't know what the unincorporated people
Right.
would be saying.
Yeah,
Because we don't have
because
any
this-
jurisdiction.
Right, this one line isn't gonna cut it, it's gotta be,
We talked to him this morning, he said he realized he has to do inch.
okay.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Mazurik.
Yes.
Okay, for the next item, the fire department is doing a major expansion on their fire station. Most of the parking lot will be used during that construction. They needed living quarters for the firemen during that construction period, which was, you remember when that was?
March to December.
When is it? Yeah.
March to December.
March to December of next year. We suggested possibly that they use our lot for doing so. Matt has been talking with them to hook up sewer and water, and I believe it is possible to do that.
And this is nice, because our Penfield Street job won't start yet,
When is that gonna start?
2021. So the fire station will get done, and then we start up the road.
What about, are they expanding the building down there?
Yes.
So what about the area behind couldn't they put a double wide in back of that?
No, because we're adding on to the back, and they're adding to the east. The back is extended living quarters, to the east, they're putting another ambulance bay. You are gonna lose a portion of that parking lot permanently. You'll probably lose all of the parking lot for 2020 for construction.
Has anyone reached out to Beecher Rec to let them know that they won't have a parking lot for?
It's the fire district's property.
I'm sure we can do that, but
Yeah, we
nothing's
can.
Well, it is their property, but when the cars start parking in the middle of the street, there's gonna be an issue with the
No,
noise.
so I said, but nothing has been formally approved, it appears to be leaning that way, so yeah, I think it's a good idea.
The same issue with the carnival, I know they towed a few cars because there was no parking at field 3 for the carnival, and there's been every other year, or somewhere to park, people were just leaving their cars in the street.
Pretty much.
So, you have 3 or 4 ball fields going, teams coming and going.
4th of July too.
Our understanding is the parking spaces that we lose, we would gain once we build our parking lot, which would be the following year. Majority of it. So it's gonna be a year of. Do you have some?
So there was a comment that was just said, and I didn't catch who said it, I think it was Bob, that just said, that's their parking lot.
That's correct, it's their property.
Okay, so then, we need that in some sort of writing or something, cause we shouldn't be paying to stripe it and seal coat it and crack fill it and everything else like we've been doing in the past. I've had this argument, we've gone round and round at this table a couple of times on it.
And we're not going to anymore. That decision was made years ago. You guys made that decision already. We're not spending another penny on that lot.
I believe the contract that we do have signed says something different as far as maintaining thereafter. Does it not?
Well, there's not gonna be much lot left to
Not gonna be
maintain when
much
they
lot
get
left.
done.
Okay.
So where are they
Crossing
gonna
bridge.
park? I mean, when they have training and everything, I mean, that lot is,
At the end of the day, we're gonna lose about 8 spaces to retention. You're gonna lose 8 spaces permanently.
And temporary would be around. our-
Temporarily would be most of the lot.
Or they're seeking permission from the library. Temporarily.
It's in a state of flux right now.
how is that double wide gonna, you know, not that I don't want living quarters, but where are they getting the double wide from?
We received this, they hired a company to bring in the double wide, and they looked at several options, including renting the entire lower level of the community hall
That's what I thought I
For
heard,
1 year.
that's what I was wondering.
1 year. That's gonna push a lot of other people out from using that building as well. Talked about putting it in front of their bay, that option I don't think was viable. We also talked about there was a lot next to the church, okay, but the problem I
Right.
believe is sewer and water there. Okay, so after discussion, Matt was there, I believe it down that particular day, we thought about the lot would probably be the best option to get through this problem without blocking a lot of things and disturbing a lot of things.
What about our lot next to the post office?
That's what we're calling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it would be in our lot next to the post office. This morning, we received a very preliminary diagram, but it's still being worked out, so to give you anything right now of where anything's going would be very, very premature. I don't think it's a double wide from the picture I saw. Do you know?
I don't know for sure. What I do know is that this trailer is set up as a mobile fire station, living quarters. It's set up with their specific tones, what they're used to hearing when their tones go off. It's set up with like a speaker system that's already set up in their main station. Things along those lines with radio banks and things like that they
Okay.
have access to or need access to.
Okay.
So
Because
it's a
my-
little
my
more.
initial- yeah, my initial thought was, you know, that they're gonna put a mobile home there, you know, but it doesn't sound like that.
And then there may be a possibility of the construction trailer, if there is one,
Mhm.
may go there. We don't even know if there is gonna be one yet.
There will be somewhere.
Pardon me?
No.
Somebody said there will be?
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, I figured as much, but again, we don't have.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on that day as well, of having
Yeah.
2 trailers on that lot.
In fact, they didn't even consider this lot until we brought it up.
Right, the latest
Correct.
diagram I saw just this evening showed the construction trailer not being on the lot, not just their house trailer.
See,
So I don't know where they're going with that.
originally, they were gonna pour gravel for parking on the lot. Bob had a concern for drainage, and I said,
No.
think they should do the parking elsewhere besides on this side.
So do we really know what's going on?
We're just telling you the board. that
We're just
says
asking,
keep going.
can they use that lot for
When
some
we
type
have
of
final
housing?
diagram, we will.
Yeah.
I mean, end of the day, right, I mean, if they feel they need to expand in that, I mean, we gotta be willing to work with them a little bit,
It's
you know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is, it's gonna be ideal and anything like that, parking, no, but whatever, deal with it and move on and get it done and.
Yeah, we felt it went one step further when we started talking to Matt about sewer and water. And we thought that we should at least tell you what's going on in the event that you start seeing stakes out there. And again, once we get the final idea of what they're gonna do, we're gonna bring it back to you. We wanna make sure that we have a consensus to at least allow them to use it a lot.
And we're at the table every step of the process right there.
So in 2021, when is Penfield supposed to start?
We are waiting for the state to approve our intergovernmental agreement for designing the road. Then it's gonna take another 8 to 10 months just to design the road. Then you gotta bid it out. then the feds have to approve everything. So it's a nightmare, and until IDOT approves our phase 3 grant agreement, we're stuck. It's not the feds holding us up, it's IDOT right now, because IDOT has not produced its 5-year capital plan.
So in other words, we're not gonna be pushed to start, or, you know, have to use that lot or.
The feds are
whatever.
pushing. The feds want to spend the money's sitting there,
Yeah,
but the state's not moving. And it's a problem for the Will County Governmental League as well, because we can't get other projects approved until we get the projects in the queue moving. We're not the only one in this boat.
yeah, we've been talking about this for how many years?
Hope not.
Hmm?
I mean, it's aggravating.
Yeah.
It really is. You know?
Okay, any other questions on the lot? Anybody have any throw objections to it? Like I said, we'll keep you informed as time goes on. With that, I ask the motion to enter an executive session for the purpose of reviewing, approving, releasing minutes of past executive session meetings and or pending litigation.
And coming back into open session possibly to take action.
That's correct. Motion,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Any questions?
Is this, you never done, or I've never been here when we've done this before, is this something we're supposed to do like every couple of years? Or
Right.
after so many meetings, what is it?
Once a year.
Okay.
So you'll get a full taste at a time, believe me.
Okay. Well, I must have missed the meeting, I don't remember going over this before.
Yeah, we tabled it from last meeting to tonight because the agenda is last.
It's possible he's never been.
Yeah, I'm behind on getting minutes out, so.
Like I said, I don't remember doing one, this is my second year, and I don't remember doing, we've done
Oh,
it
no.
first year, but, I mean, I
We've
could
done
have missed the
this,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay.
Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Capros?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.